Have you noticed how silence can sometimes feel easier than finding the right words? Have you felt the urge to pull back, not because you don't care, but because speaking feels imprecise or incomplete? Do you ever sense that talking risks saying the wrong thing, while staying quiet feels safer? Have you observed how stepping away can feel like creating space, not avoidance? Do you recognize moments when withdrawing is less about distance from others and more about trying to regain internal order? And have you wondered why reflection often comes before expression rather than the other way around? Most men don't withdraw because they lack emotion or connection. They withdraw because they are trying to understand what they feel before they give it a shape. For many, silence is not absence. It's a form of processing, a way to regain coherence before re-entering conversation with clarity rather than noise. There is a familiar moment many men recognize but rarely describe. A conversation approaches depth, and something inside tightens. Words feel close, yet not available. Instead of speaking, there is a subtle pull to step back. Not dramatically, just a little more silence, a little more distance. From the outside, it can look like avoidance. From the inside, it often feels like order, like choosing stillness over something that might spill, distort, or complicate what already feels heavy but contained. Withdrawal is rarely loud. It does not announce itself as fear or resistance. It arrives as restraint, as a decision to hold rather than to explain. Many men are not trying to hide. They are trying to preserve something fragile: clarity, composure, inner balance. And in that effort, silence can feel safer than speech. When men withdraw instead of talking, it is rarely because they lack thoughts. Often, it is because there are too many layered too tightly, without a clear edge. Speech requires shape. It asks that an inner experience be compressed into something linear, audible, and final. For many men, this compression feels inaccurate, not wrong, just incomplete. Talking can feel like closing a file that is still open, like committing to a version of oneself that may not yet be settled. There is also a relationship between speech and responsibility. Once something is spoken, it becomes part of the world. It can be questioned, remembered, returned to. Silence keeps things provisional. It allows a man to stay with his internal process without having to defend it or translate it. Withdrawal, then, is not always avoidance of connection. It is often an attempt to maintain internal coherence. Many men are oriented toward function. They assess before acting. They prefer to understand the terrain before moving across it. When emotions arise without clear utility or direction, the instinct is not to express, but to stabilize. Talking, especially in emotionally charged moments, can feel like introducing noise into a system that is already under strain. Withdrawal becomes a way to reduce variables, to return to baseline. There is also the question of precision. Men who value control and discipline often distrust imprecise language. They sense that saying the wrong thing can create misunderstanding, escalation, or expectations they are not ready to meet, so they wait, sometimes too long. This waiting is not passive. It is active containment, an internal effort to integrate, refine, and decide what truly matters before it is named. But containment has weight. Over time, what is held without movement can begin to harden. Not as emotion, but as tension. Not as sadness, but as fatigue. Withdrawal protects clarity in the short term. In the long term, it can quietly distance a man from his own inner signal. The question then is not whether withdrawal is good or bad. It is what role it plays in a man's identity, For many, withdrawal becomes part of how they define strength, the ability to carry without spilling, to remain composed regardless of inner turbulence. This capacity is real and it is earned. But strength that only moves inward eventually loses range, not because it breaks, but because it narrows. Self-mastery is not constant expression, nor constant restraint. It is discernment, knowing when silence preserves clarity and when it prevents alignment. Some men withdraw because they sense that speaking would dilute something important. Others withdraw because they have not yet developed a language that feels true to their internal experience. In both cases, silence is not emptiness. It is unprocessed meaning. Identity forms around repeated choices. If withdrawal becomes the default response to internal pressure, a man may begin to experience himself as distant even to himself, not disconnected, but slightly out of reach. This is not a call to speak more. It is an invitation to notice the quality of one's silence. Does it feel clean or congested, grounded or heavy, intentional or automatic? Silence chosen with awareness strengthens identity. Silence chosen reflexively can obscure it. The inner work is not about replacing withdrawal with expression. It is about restoring choice, so that silence and speech both serve direction, not habit. Many men withdraw not because they are unwilling to connect, but because they take connection seriously. They do not want to speak prematurely. They do not want to misrepresent what is still forming. This care deserves respect. At the same time, a life lived entirely inward can become tight, not painful, just constrained. Clarity is not only found in solitude. Sometimes it is refined through contact, not through explanation, but through presence. Withdrawal has its place. So does emergence. The steadiness many men seek is not found in silence alone, nor in constant articulation. It lives in the space where a man can remain composed yet available, centered yet not closed, and when that balance is present, speaking is no longer a risk. It is simply another form of alignment.